circles as mite bombs. Mite bombs. Because when they die, which they will, you just unleash, a nuclear cloud of hypervirulent mites onto all of your neighbors, all the wild honeybees. The viruses they spread are active in non-apis bees, so you're contaminating the wild bees all around you with these mite bombs as well. It is a epidemiological disaster. And that's the catch of this paper. These guys are disease modelers and epidemiologists, and they said, people, please, please, do your James Bond thing if you want to. Do it, it's okay, but do one extra thing. Actively select for honeybee resistance. Count your mites and only propagate those colonies that have the fewest mites year after year. You've got to exert selection pressure on active resistance, not just tolerance, for the sake of your bees and for the sake of your beekeeping community. This is a very important paper, and I'm proud of Lewis for getting this out there. It's a real antidote to a lot of bad misinformation that's out there in the beekeeping world, and help me get that word out. It's really quite a thing. All you got to do is just count your mites and select from your, do everything else. Just include mite counts and select from the lowest population of mites. Lord, what time is it?
You're good.
Good.
Okay. This is cool. This is cool. Okay, you'll like this. Let your workers choose the larvae to be queens. This is the right natural way to do it, right? Well, you know what I'm going to say. No, it's not. So let me just tell you why. This is weird. This is freaky. But Dave Tarpey, good job, you. I mean, Dave's like, rock star. I mean, I am too, I mean, Dave is, he's right up there with me. No, he's, anyway, Dave, this is a cool study that Dave did. It was actually, the first team was a German team who came up with this idea of royal patrolines. This is weird. This is kind of weird stuff. Go with me. When a normal swarm cycle happens, the queen is choosing who the next queen will be. And here's how she does it. By depositing her eggs in queen cups. And you know these little things that exist throughout the colony. Oh, please, Mac and PC. Yeah, there it is. Next one. Yeah, these things. When a queen deposits, and they do these, they build these in anticipation of the swarm season, and the number of queens that are actually produced are very highly correlated to the number of queen cups that pre-exist there. When a queen deposits her eggs in these queen cups, as she does during a normal swarming season, these cups are preferentially turned into the subsequent queens. Okay? So she is unaware of the paternity of every egg she lays and fertilizes. She doesn't know. It's that naivety that renders her, what's the word? Impartial. And the fact that egg that's in that cup becomes a queen, it becomes a queen because it's in a cup, not for any other genetic reason. The reason I'm stressing that point is there are patrolines, which are daughter lines of particular drones in the spermatheca of a queen, who dupe the nurse bees into making them into queens. Hey, you up there. Yeah, you. Hey. Oh, stop. Feed me royal jelly. Not him, me. And yeah, they do it. They can chemically induce the nurses to feed them royal jelly. They become queens, which is kind of cool. What's really cool is, the flip side of that coin is, none of them become workers. They all become queens. It's like, if you don't feed me royal jelly, just let me die. I just want to die. Okay, I guess. So they don't even feed them and they don't show up again. They disappear from the population. It's queen or nothing. And they're called royal patrolines. When does that happen? That happens in the case of secondary swarms. The queen is gone. She's not laying eggs in cups anymore. So if she's gone and the workers are calling the shots, they can just pick an egg left over from her in any cell, and they do. Typically, we say that queens are best when they are reared in a swarm situation, which is early. And we usually used to say that it's because there's more nutrition in spring and these swarm cells get better fed and become good queens. And the supersedure queens, the ones that are accidents later on in June and July, an accident, they're never as good. They're runty little queens. They're just not as productive. Well, it's just because of bad nutrition, right? Well, no, it's because the workers were choosing them and they were vulnerable to those darn mischievous royal larvae duping raising them into queens. Again, why is that a bad thing? It's because in the social evolution from solitary to social, whenever individuals want to start expressing selfishly their own reproduction, they give up working for the group. This is why your colonies die when they go laying worker. Because everyone who's laying stops doing any work. They don't forage anymore. They don't guard the nest anymore. They don't feed anyone else's larvae anymore. They're just laying around, laying eggs and hoping that the rest of their sisters rear them into workers or drones for them. They've given up. It is a big step back towards solitary selfishness rather than social altruism. That's why it's bad. These parasitic larvae produce queens who become laying worker mothers, and they just don't work as well. They're not as productive. They're not as productive. This gets us to sort of the take-home point. What then should we do? We should not use any kind of requeening method that grants that permission to the workers, is what it boils down to. And I've used it myself a lot, but this really casts into question the extremely popular practice of the walk-away split. I hate to say it, because I've done it myself, because it's so darn easy. You know, where you make a split, you leave the queen behind, you give them some young brood, and you take them away to somewhere else. They'll raise their own queen, everything's fine, you know. You are setting the stage for a possible, transferal to a parasitic queen, who just don't make as good workers. They're not as good as workers. So this is an idea that has only been developed. It has not been tested yet. Dave Tarpey, you might want to talk to him about this when he's here. But the whole idea of these parasitic queens, we need to critically look at that, and we need to critically ask ourselves, should we let workers make these choices? And it's kind of an open question at this point. They might produce these parasitic royals instead of good queens. Oh, I don't have enough time. Right. Okay, so let's kind of start wrapping up, and maybe you'll have some questions for me. Lord. Remember, changes are rapid genetically with the bees and the mites, even at the scale of a season within a given apiary. So if you are engaged in a breeding program, this applies mostly to those of you who are engaged in breeding programs, just be aware that these changes happen fast. And if you have to replace colonies that die out in an apiary, replace them from within the apiary to maintain the progress that you've made, and to, and equally important, reduce the importation of fresh mites that could be very virulent. Okay, anytime you add fresh meat to naive mites, you're inviting greater virulence. Low colony density. I'm not going to go to California and tell the commercial beekeepers they have to put their hives 100 yards apart. But you get the idea, okay? Remember the circle thing versus the long line? Even at a scale of a room this size, you can expand their density. Expand their density? Yeah, that's right. Make them less dense. And even that, predictably, is going to help your yield and your mite levels. Better insulation. I mean, the Europeans have had this for years. Small entrances, lots of insulation. I insulated my hives with styrofoam this past winter, and they came through winter great. You know, had an old Amazon box, and I took twine and wrapped the styrofoam around it. You know, even in Georgia, we can do that. Survival of the fittest Varroa breeding assumes that resistant characters exist. That's a big assumption, a big assumption. It can promote bee tolerance, not bee resistance. If you're doing live or let die beekeeping, Darwinian beekeeping, at least select for actual resistance along with everything else. Otherwise, you risk unloosing these virulent mite bombs when the colonies die. And letting workers choose the next queen is in danger of promoting socially parasitic lines who produce crappy workers. Okay? If you like this kind of stuff, if this level of biology interests you, and if you want to run with some of these ideas and read more about it, I do have a book came out in Amazon, Honeybee Social Evolution. I had a really cool picture to show you, which might be seen. Anyway, it's a cool book. And it's got a lot of original art. It's got some art by Sonia and myself, and some great photography by a lot of Georgia photographers as well. Georgia features prominently in this book, so check it out. And I'm really happy to say that I'm revising First Lessons, and it is due out this year. I'm working on the index, okay? And I'm in the V's, Varroa. You know, it's not far away. So yeah, that's going to be a big thing. It's been 19 years since the first lessons that I did, which actually goes back to 1917 with Charles Dedon. And they asked me to pick it up and rewrite it in 2007, and that's the version that I'm talking about that I'm rewriting. It'll be great. Read it too. Yeah, we had a lot of funding for this work, you know, that I just described. You know, USDA, Institutes of Health, NEFA, GBA gave us some money too. So with that, I'll stop. Maybe you have some questions. Covered a lot of ground. I'm sorry about that. I hope your rear ends and your heads are not tired. But yes.
You showed that map of Georgia and the South Africa, and I'm just wondering if those were the same variety of bees in South Africa?
Oh, yeah, the question was that experiment where we compared bees in Georgia and South Africa. No, and that's a crucial point. The ones in South Africa were native to Africa, and they could handle the beetles fine. In fact, that was the main point of our study, was to compare those two, because the beetle is native to Africa, and the bees there just no problem.
So if you happen to be queenless, do you suggest purchasing a queen?
I do. Thank you for that. That's helpful. I tell beekeepers, and nobody likes hearing this because it just sounds so against the way we normally think, especially in this period in our history. But this really is an example where a human grafted queen is better than letting the workers choose it themselves. I know it's counterintuitive, but just the way the biology of the animal works, it's not good when the workers are calling shots. And in nature they don't. It's the queens that do. So it's not that gross of a misrepresentation for us to take that decision and do a human grafted queen instead. It's counterintuitive, but that's what research does. I actually kind of like it when my results are kind of, no. It makes you think, okay, I have separated myself from the experiment enough to be surprised. That's a good feeling. Anyway, yes, ma'am.
Kind of a follow-up to that. If somebody does a long-way split, but they move the queen, and the queen-created cells are behind. Is that different?
That is probably okay. Again, it goes back to that moment of choice. When the cell was capped and when it was committed, then you're probably okay in that case. It's more, I think, a hazard for the split that you walk away with. Oh, they'll raise their own.
I have them a different way.
What's that?
Walk away splits, I don't really walk away. I grab a couple of larvae, drop them in there.
Oh, okay. Okay. You don't let it just be happenstance. You take more active control. Yeah, Rodney just harvests queen cells from the mother and takes it along with the walkway. That's probably a better step than what I described.
Yeah, but I experienced what you were describing.
Yeah, okay.
So as far as the insulation, are you saying screen bottoms? What do you think about screen?
Screens should probably be at least covered over. You know, slide some corrugated plastic in there, because that's a big heat sink. Yeah, I mean, they lose, even though it's heat rises, of course, but still that's an unnecessary ingress of wind, and that can be really lethal. Yeah, it should be covered. Yes, preferably with a porous material that can absorb some moisture. Yes, sir.
So are you recommending buying a new queen instead of let them make their own?
It would be preferable, yes, for you to either buy one that was grafted, preferably from a breeder who's actively selecting for resistance, or if you have some of your own, preferably in that apiary that you reared. It would be better to do that than to just let them have free run raising whatever the queen they wanted.
So I mean, making your queen is better than let them make their own.
In general, yes. Yes, that's the point I'm trying to make. Yes, sir.
So we're better off, saying this is a question, not a statement, we're better off doing splits in our own apiary in the spring than bringing news or box of bees in. So that you're using your bees to be the basis of your new hives?
Ideally, yes. But you may not be interested in doing that. You know, if you're not interested in genetic selection, if you're just committed, kind of like I am, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. I don't engage in breeding. I have a rotation program with chemicals. So I don't really worry about importation because I'm going to be aggressively controlling my mites. So it's more if you are actively trying to breed your bees for resistance. Otherwise, just treat them. And I'm not averse to that too, by the way. I mean, I'm a tree hugger, but I also love honeybees, and I also have ethical problems with the Darwinian leave let alone approach. And I actually stick my neck out in the first lessons, and I have a couple paragraphs about that. I'm sorry, I rambled. But the main point is, you know, if you're not breeding, it doesn't matter. And most of us aren't.
But you don't have the issue of worrying about what you're bringing into your hive, into your apiary.
In those cases, yes. Just as long as you're just keeping a handle on Varroa. It's public enemy number 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. It's the bad guy. And the viruses, of course. I understand that the, Delapane, the company in Athens that makes the virus, I'm sorry, the vaccine.
Oh, there was a conspiracy.
I swear, don't tell them. The vaccine for foul brood disease. They know that the Holy Grail is a vaccine for viruses. They know that. But they have a working paper that they've been trying to get reviewed and published, which to my knowledge has not yet been published. They've been working on it for a long time. I hope it doesn't have problems. What they found was collateral benefit. Those colonies that had the vaccinated queens for American foul brood, which is a bacterium, were having lower levels of DWV, which is a virus. They weren't expecting this, but it appears to be a kind of collateral benefit from the DWV defensive behavior. Cool. And so they're trying to get that published, but it hasn't been refereed yet. But that's what we need. We need a virus vaccine, and they know that, but it's technically difficult. Yes?
I'm kind of curious about some of the insulation that you've been talking about in
Yeah.
Georgia. How do you balance something like that with moisture buildup?
Yeah, what they do in Europe, anyone been to Eastern Europe and seen what I'm talking about? Pillows. It's literally pillows. They use like sawdust. And they got them in these heavy canvas bags of sawdust, and it's just able to wick and absorb moisture. But it is an important point, because otherwise if it condenses and rains on them, that's murder. That's murder on bees, so you don't want that. So any kind of absorbent material, like I was talking about with him, would do. And it's so easy. You know, Harold Lanier sells insulated material. They've got these new composite materials that are, I don't know, you guys probably know better than I do. It's a mixture of plastic and wood, and it's got a real high insulation property, and it's about that thick, and it's low-hanging fruit. I mean, why not? Lord, they need every little thing we can give them.
Do you insulate your hives year-round?
No, I take them off in hot weather.
We just use thicker wood.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, even that would help. Double them up. No. Oh, sorry.
Do you actually know the R value of the hives in Europe?
The R value, I don't. I'm sure that number exists, I just don't know it. Look up like thorns with an E on the end of it, thorn in the UK, and they market a lot of that stuff. Yeah. We are a rapt crowd. Thanks for bringing an old retired war horse back into duty. It's nice to keep my brain sharp. So,
It's pretty sharp.
but do get those books. I think you'll like them. They're good, especially the first lessons. That's really.
Ebook, is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Did you bring any to sell?
I didn't. I'm just not mercenary enough. I was in the public sector too long. I just don't have any imagination. Well, thank you all for having me. So. Hey.
Any business stuff we need to take care of today? You had mentioned something about GBA and some honey.
I haven't got the email on that yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
I missed the conference meeting because I was teaching.